a little bit. I decided not to today.
No worries.
Oh, we're live. Live. Hi, everybody. Aloha. Michaela Kennedy here with my dear friend Jennifer Nearents from the Academy of Holistic Healing. Welcome, Jen. How you doing?
Thank you. I am good. I am good. We were, yes, sharing just a moment before we went live and was getting into you had asked how I was, and I realized that my energy is much lower than usual, and it's not a bad thing. But are you okay with me just jumping in?
Absolutely. Please
Okay.
do. I just find that no matter what we do, whether we interrupt each other or come up with stuff, it's always relevant.
Yes.
And you're not, I didn't mean that you're interrupting me because you weren't. And that like
No.
did to you.
No worries. And like I said, my energy is lower than usual, but it's not a bad thing. The word is humbled. I have, I'm in the process of really stepping up my marketing and really showing up in a bigger way, because it's been made very, very abundantly obvious to me that there is what I bring the world is in desperate need of, and I can no longer keep my mouth shut. And the feedback that I was given just recently was like this morning. I know that I'm good at what I do. I had no idea the depth of the impact that my work does. And I'm probably going to lose it again.
Oh,
Um,
no, well, you know what? While you're losing it, I would like to comment on what you just said, because we don't realize how we affect people. And and very often, a lot of people affect others in a very negative way. So we can be home to, and very blessed that we can get feedback that oh, how much we've helped other people. And it's a two-way street too, because when we help other people, we're helping ourselves.
mhm.
Don't get us wrong at all. We're not standing here on a high pedestal trying to tell you guys what to do or anything like that. It's about when we teach, it's very often the very things that we want to learn as well. And we know it and we understand it, but when we are able to share it with others, then we really own it.
Yeah,
And that is it, and it's so wonderful when the feedback comes back. And yeah, it can be humbling, but I find that when I get filled up, very similar experience. I have a fairly new meditation student, and at the end of every session, she gives me such an amazing feeling of gratitude, and what she says to me makes me fill up like that. And I wonder, it shows us that we can open our hearts a little bit more. We can really expand it out. Excuse me for hijacking the entire conversation right now, but I got to tell you a story. It's a crazy story. I have a friend in Hawaii who sends me a care package at Christmas every year. And every year he also he burns a CD of music for me. And this year, the CD, I didn't listen to it right away. I am looking to do more corporate work now, corporate presentations, and working on consultation on executive level. And on last Monday morning, I was going into a very important presentation in front of an entire staff on digital assets. So I was nervous and I was getting little butterflies, like everybody gets those. And I, for the first time, put the CD into my car stereo and started listening to it. And it was loaded with these beautiful love songs. Love songs to the point that I was starting to well up in tears at 8:30 in the morning on Monday morning, and I was freaking out because I'm thinking, wait a minute, I'm wearing makeup and I'm going into a presentation and I can't go in there with streaked makeup and all upset about this. So I said, what can I do? I was like, okay, I can do I came right into awareness. I used one of the awareness exercises. And I said, okay, open my heart, open it. And I could feel physical fingers like going in and stretching my heart chakra, stretching it out to the point where all of a sudden I felt this snap open into awareness, into balance, into a beautiful feeling of confidence. And I breathed with it. This is all on the highway in commuter traffic up to this office. And when I got in there, I went in there with a centeredness, with a groundedness, with a happiness, and with love in my heart. And you know what? I nailed that presentation.
Very good. Yes, exactly.
So I hope I didn't interrupt what you were saying, but did you want to share more on that, Jennifer?
It just goes hand in hand with being aware of what we bring and being willing to accept compliments, being willing to do exactly that, of opening up your heart and stepping into a bigger space, about extending that acceptance that we give to other people to ourselves as well, and to realize that we can second guess every interaction that we have, and yet we will never truly know the impact that we've had on people. Sometimes we'll hear back from them, sometimes we won't. And it's learning to walk in that place of centeredness and not second guessing self. And that has been one of the biggest lessons for me in the last couple of days. And yeah, so it's very, very fascinating, this journey.
Yes. A lot of people, specifically women especially, you know, men are not are not completely immune to this, but women definitely. When things happen, you know, when we get feedback like that, and something that should really make us feel good, we find this well up of tears, and very often those tears, we judge them because we just. And we judge them about, oh, you know, I shouldn't be doing this. I shouldn't be blubbering in front of a crowd. But there are a lot of different reasons for the tears. And when your tears are coming for the right reasons, it's wonderful. It's a sign of beauty, and it's a sign that we are connected, and that we are showing the compassion for the others around us. Mm-hmm. If the tears are coming because it's tapping into our lack, like, oh, I don't deserve to be told that, I don't deserve, you know, or, you know, that person isn't right, this is really what I really have this problem and they don't know about it. That is where the mindfulness practice comes in and supports us.
Yes, very much so, because then you can start digging into it further, going, okay, so where is this coming from, and why do I feel so fill in the blank? Undeserving, and it's unwarranted, why am I reacting in anger, that kind of thing. And even in the positives of it, really being humbled and honored at the feeling, allowing that to sit and go, wow, what lesson is there here for me? Even in, you know, in the positive or in the not positive, you can use it as a learning tool, and it is truly an experience in awareness, and it's in self-awareness. And yes.
Yes, and that's what we're here all about. Today is number 5 in our intro to meditation. It's not what you think. And today, all along we've been giving a lot of tools on how to bring ourselves to the place of awareness more quickly, whether you're sitting on a cushion in formal meditation or whether you're at a party talking to people and a lot going on. Wherever you may be, if you're driving on the street, no matter where you are, is an opportunity to connect with the beingness. And all of what we've just been sharing with our stories is great, because we are realizing that these are points where we can catch ourselves and bring them to awareness and say, that I'm laughing, and where is this coming from? Or I'm feeling welled up, and I'm about to cry. Where is it coming from? Or who is it within me?
Mm-hmm.
It's allowing us to connect with all of that. So today, what we hope to offer our viewers is a chance to look at our pulse, see if we've been doing the exercises and using the exercises that we've had so far to bring us to the goal we have, and the goal is awareness. The goal is that awareness and balance within ourselves, so that we can be the most extraordinary we that we can be.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me, while I bring up the screen share, while I get ready to do the screen share, Jennifer, the exercises of the informal exercises. Are those informal exercises becoming different for you? I know that you do them anyway, and I know that they come to you. I'm wondering if, since we've been working together, if those informal exercises of becoming aware during the day have increased for you or changed in any way.
Well, I don't think that they've increased in any way, because that has been a standard for me for years.
Yeah, both of us.
Yeah, I think more remembering the moments of awareness to be able to share with people, instead of just keeping it as my, there's another one. There's another one. I don't even acknowledge it. There's another one. It's more of they're sticking in my memory more to be able to share them. This is an example of what we mean.
Interesting. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, me too. I didn't realize. And you know what? You just brought an awareness that I wasn't aware of.
That's what we do, Michaela.
That's what it's all about.
Yes.
That's
yes.
great. Okay, so the screen share for today is, it's not what you think. Staying awareness connected. The thing that makes this so important is that, it's funny, here I am, Mel. Let me make it a little bit larger here for us. Okay, there we go. Just a little bit larger. The thing about staying awareness connected is we've been giving you so many tools. The tools of nature, the 5 elements of nature from last week, the 3-point meditation that we did at the very beginning, where we open up each point, the different exercises, the actual physical breathing exercises. We'll be bringing more of those in later on in the series, because we still have 5 weeks more to do this. But what we'd like to do today is just take a look at how we can stay awareness connected. It's interesting to ask you that question, Jennifer, because we've been doing it for so many years that it becomes second nature. And one of my vulnerabilities with this is that sometimes it is so second nature that I assume that everybody does it. And that's not true. I remember one time, when I lived in Hawaii, I loved to windsurf. And when I was learning how to windsurf, I was also out there with some rock stars that were just incredible windsurfers that could do the most amazing things. And these guys started becoming my friends. And I would complain about certain skills that I could not do. And they'd say, well, sure, you can, come on out, and I'll show you how to do it. It's easy. So I'd get all excited, and I'd go out there. And I remember this one particular time where I was learning to do a water start, which is basically you're in water up over your head, and the wind just pulls you right up out of the water, and you're flying. And I could do it on one side, but I couldn't do it on the other. And I was whining about it. So this super rock star of a windsurfer came over to help me, and he said, all right, show me what the problem is. So I showed him, and then he looked at me in all seriousness, and he said, oh, I see what the problem is. You're dyslexic. And then he laughed, and then he took off. And I got so angry that I ended up doing it. And at first I was all whiny and upset because he wasn't teaching me, but he was being sarcastic and picking on me. And then I realized, wait a minute. Wait a minute, I can do this. And all I needed was a little bit of confidence, and I did it.
Uh-huh.
So we don't, it's very easy. I'm not trying to say that we all need to be perfect teachers or anything like that, or that we're better teachers because we're learning. But this is what happens when you know how to do something second nature and you're really good at it. Unless you are within awareness and within your state within awareness, it's very difficult to have compassion to understand where other people can get your help and need your help and how you can offer it.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that is very important that I'd like to go back and talk a little bit more about is the elements that we went over last week. These 5 elements, and if you want to know how to use them, we talked about it last week. And I actually do have a guided meditation that I will be posting. I just haven't posted it yet, but I did do it.
Good.
Good, I did do it. And to use these 5 elements. And a question came up this week about how to use these in meditation. They said, well, what if you're feeling one really strongly and you want to use just another one to counterbalance it? Or can you use just one element at a time? It's like, well, sure, yes, you can use one element at a time, but it really is suggested, or I urge you to use all 5 of them at the same time, because when we look at the world and every being, vegetable, and mineral that is in this world, all of existence has some combination of these 5 elements in some way, shape, or form. They are all there. And if you happen to be really filled up with one, it doesn't mean that that's bad. That's what we tend to do, is we tend to think, oh, I've got too much of something. It's really impossible to have too much of any element. It's a very good thing to incorporate all of them because we are working toward awareness. And by practicing and using all of these elements and really internalizing them and realizing that they are always within us, they're always a part of us, this is how we find the strength for ourselves. We don't have to look outside ourselves for our strength.
Right. Can I interrupt real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, as you were talking, the imagery that came to mind is the Avatar series, and not the one with the blue monkeys, but the cartoon Avatar. And it's the difference between being a waterbender and being the Avatar, because every situation that you walk into is going to require a different element. And if you have only practiced with being a water, not even a water bender, just being in the element of water, fluid flowing, and you are into a situation that requires earth, grounding, solidity, you will be literally out of your element. Learning how to cultivate the skills of each element provides for a more rounded person and the more rounded ability to handle the knowledge, the truth, the trust in self that you can handle whatever situation comes up. So even if you're on a boat, you know that if you are suddenly shipwrecked, you're going to be able to handle it because you've got some experience with grounding. And I know that that's a very drastic example, and that's not probably the best one, but
that's a great example. Good one.
Even in our day-to-day conversations and ways of going through life very grounded is important, and the ability to shift from being very grounded to being very fluid in any conversation, very much like we do with the back and forth, knowing when to stay our course, knowing when we give and take, knowing when we can spark and fire, knowing when it's okay to be a little bit spacey. It's being able to shift from element to element to element as it is needed in the moment.
Absolutely. That, you said it perfectly. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to go see that series. I haven't seen it. Is it an animated film, or is it?
It is. It's, yeah, and they've got 4 different books, one on each of the elements, and then there is the avatar, who is a little kid, which I love the symbolism of it. You know, it's returning back to the inner child about who can do anything if you just believe in yourself, and, you know, being explorative and being able to question and play and learn and not judge and just love. And it is an amazing, fabulous series, and they've continued it past the original avatar and then into his children and grandchildren, and it brings it into more modern day, and it gets a little bit darker, but the theme of really knowing yourself and trusting yourself and being aware of the world around you and being able to be aware of the world within you continues through all of the series. It's very, very good.
Oh, I love that stuff. Just last week I saw The Croods. Did you ever see
Oh gosh.
It kind of reminds me of that, because there were so many different elements that were thrown at them, and how to use them, and how to make them, you know, to be confident rather than shy away from them.
Yeah, my kids don't like watching movies with me anymore, because you know, I was laughing. I was like, "Oh man, that so applies to real life." Oh man, did you hear what they just said? Oh man, did you catch the double meaning on that? They're like, "Mother, can you just be quiet for just a minute?" I'm sorry, but this is a really good movie. Did you see that? Did you hear that? I mean, did you really get that?
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, sometimes, you know, we don't start seeing it till we're in our late teens, or, you know, young adults, before we start seeing those double meanings. And, you know, as kids, you just want to enjoy the storyline.
Right. It's like, oh, sorry. If I'm going to have to sit through this movie, you're going to have to learn what I see.
It's funny. You mentioned that they covered the 4 elements, and in many cases, the 4 elements are the basics. There are quite a number of cultures, though, that do include the 5th element, and it took me a while to understand the difference between the air and the space. We can say the wind and the void. There are a lot of different words that we can use with them, but as I began to question it within myself and wonder about it, I began to understand the difference in the quality of them.
Yeah.
I didn't, you know, I'm going to go back here for a second to the space, because it's a very strong one, and it's the one element that permeates all of the others.
And before you change slides, I would love to share something with you, but I don't want to interrupt you. I just want to say that before you
No,
switch.
Go ahead.
That to me, space is like the woo-woo realm. And I say that very lovingly, because that's where I spend a lot of my time. Sorry, guys, but connecting out there on the energetic. And that, to me, is an awful lot where the space is. It's vast, and yet it's totally alive with things that you can't see. But you can feel it, but you get all the little nudgings, you get all the little insights, and that, to me, is where it all lives, is out in the space. It's not empty. It's very full, and learning how to connect to that and bring it down, bringing space down through Earth, is an interesting experience.
Yeah, and I would like to sit for a couple of minutes with the space and just chat about it for a moment, because When we're first beginning our meditative practice and we're working with the elements like this, and there's a lot of shamanism here. A lot of the shamanism, Shintoism, the Tibetan Buddhists, Zen, many of the different cultures work with these. If you stop for a moment and think about the quality of space, and you're not too sure if you want to go woo woo or whether it really is woo woo. Well, it isn't really. It actually is there because a transistor radio picks up waves. We can be inside a building without any windows and still get Wi-Fi service, still have a connection with our cyberspace or with our telephones. I should say with the wireless phones, and it's not that is a good example of the difference between the air and the space, because if it were air, then it would be blocked by something like Earth, but space permeates all elements, so it will go through buildings, maybe not through steel and metal so much, but even steel and metal, something so dense as in the boulders or cooled off lava, it's still, if you go down to the physics level of it, there's still space there. There's still movement. There's still an openness that makes all things change. And there is change. The one thing that has helped many people with my beginner meditative students is to use cyberspace as an example. Cyberspace does go beyond time and space, because right now, when you stop and think about it, there is a certain telepathy with much of our audience out there, because many people who are going to watch this will be watching it at a later date beyond this time. And they will not be sitting in front of us, in front of me in Rhode Island or in front of you in Washington. They will be wherever they are in the world. So in a sense, you can see how cyberspace is outside of time and space. There's just a little bit of beginner philosophy, I guess.
It's a real world application that people can grasp the concept easier.
Yes, very good. Thank you. So with all of these things, and it's funny, I lived in Tokyo for 8 years, and Tokyo is pretty wild. It's one of the largest, most dense cities in the world, and yet you can still find nature. And it's funny to see where people would go in order to relax. Some people would go into a very noisy pachinko parlor. Do you know what a pachinko parlor is?
No.
No, it's a crazy, wild, loud place. It's just a whole bunch of, it looks like pinball machines that are vertical. And it plays like that, only it's very similar to, it's like a cross between a slot machine and a pinball machine.
Okay.
And so you can make money on it. You can win money, you can play on it. And these things are just running, bells and whistles going off, and lights are going off and everything else. And I imagine some people would probably have an epileptic fit if they went into one, because there's so much activity going on. And I wonder, how do these people relax if they are in a place like that is not a place of nature? And if we just stop for a second, and instead of me judging that the way I used to, I can say that every single element every single thing or person or vegetable in life is made up of these elements. So on some level, even if they are not conscious of it, they can connect with it. But that was kind of going off on a tangent. I think the quickest, fastest way that you can bring yourself to a place of awareness is by going into nature. And asking yourself, find out where are your favorite places in nature. Obviously, I like water because I keep bringing this water picture up. I live about a half a mile from here because I love being near the shore. I love the mountains as well, but I'm closer to the ocean, so I go down. I'll go in the woods. I'll find a place to walk by a pond or a creek or maybe the beach. And it's the important thing about connecting with nature and connecting with the natural elements within is we can go for a walk in the woods, but if we're bringing all our crap with us and we're angry about something or worried about something or anything that has got us filled up, we're not able to take advantage of those elemental pieces that refresh us. So when we go into nature, when we empty ourselves and breathe and just connect with the 5 elements, we can also consider that a way of feeding ourselves, because we are feeding ourselves. The more oxygen we bring in, the better we are going to feel. The water elements. We need water to live. I mean, if you physically are dehydrated, you need to drink water. You need to breathe the air. The sun is that fire, the fire that gives us warmth. And when we connect with all these things, we are feeding our bodies. So one suggestion would be during your lunch hour is, don't just feed your face. Maybe you might want to skip lunch and do a meditation outside or sitting in your office, or maybe eat and then make a little bit of time to do an element practice and to connect with those things. And maybe that afternoon meeting will go so much more smoothly than you expected it to.
Mm-hmm. And the image that comes to mind is that scene in Pretty Woman where Richard Gere takes off his socks and shoes, rolls up his pants, and goes and walks in the grass as he's trying to sort out what in the hell he's going to do with his life after she's come in and rototilled his belief system. And yes, you take your sandwich outside, you have a walking meditation lunch where you are bare feet in contact with whatever earth you can find. And I know during the winter it's really hard, and I gotta share with you guys, I struggle in the winter because I can't be barefoot, and because my hands and my feet get so cold so fast. So yes, this is perfect world analogy. Go walk outside in bare feet. But if the weather doesn't allow you to do that, you can find other ways. You can go stick your hands in your house plants down in the dirt.
Oh, yes,
and
I do that. I do that.
Yes, and imagine yourself being connected through the earth, allowing your stuff to go float out of your body down into the earth, and you're not hurting your plants, you're not hurting anything. That's part of the symbiotic relationship that we have with nature, is we have the ability to exchange our stuff. They're going to transmute it into the stuff that we need. So it's not a transference of negative anywhere. It's not a hurting of the plants. It's a truly honoring of what their gifts are for us. So, but the walking meditation at lunch, 5 minutes out there chomping on your sandwich or your salad or drinking your cup of coffee before a meeting with your shoes off, walking on the grass, yeah. That's a great way to easily incorporate these practices into your life.
A long time ago, a friend of mine said to me, when you're all filled up with your worries and your stress, just put it into a paper bag for a little while and put it beside you. Just put it there. And it's there. It hasn't gone anywhere. No one is throwing away your paper bag. But you're just you're just putting it away, putting it aside for a moment and allowing yourself to be open.
Yeah, that's fabulous. Ours is a bookcase. write a book, put it in a book, put it on your bookcase, and it's there. You know where it's going, you know where it's at. It's not going anywhere. Nobody's going to check out your books. It's okay. It's on that bookcase. You can go back and get it at any point.
Yes, exactly. I'm laughing about what you said about not being able to go out barefoot in winter, because I'm looking at 2 feet. Well, some of the drifts. There are a few drifts that are 2 and 3 and 5 feet outside here. And I was thinking, wow, wouldn't it be cool to be doing these outside in the woods? I would love to be doing my webinar with you, Jen, outside in nature. And I thought, 20 degrees, I don't think it would last very long. I'll save it for spring.
No.
However, that doesn't mean that I don't go out there. Something had happened a few days ago, and I needed a change. So I threw on my boots and I went out into the woods, and there was a kind of a path because other people had been walking out there as well. But and I did fall into a drift, and I got my boot full of snow. I came back with such joy. It was so much fun. It connected me with my inner child. It reconnected me with the 5 elements, and I had a new perspective on the problem at hand and was able to resolve it.
Excellent.
And that's what the practice is about, getting ourselves to the next level. One thing that people are like, well, how do you know? How do you, how do you get these answers, and how do you learn this stuff? And when we're always saying, I don't know, what am I going to, how am I going to do that? It's good to just relax. And this may sound a little bit woo-woo, but really, when we, when I was 5 years old, my big brother told me that if I wanted to get muscles and do gymnastics, that I needed to do push-ups. And if I had told him at 5 years old that he was full of BS and that was not true, and that if I questioned what he was telling me, I probably never would have joined the gymnastic team when I was later on, in school. But I just took it. I just was like, oh, that's what you do. You do this to get that? Okay, let me give it a try. I've never done that before, but I'll give it a try. So if you've never done it before, try, put that skepticism aside, put it, in the box for a couple of seconds, put it on the bookshelf for a moment. Just give it a try. Relax. All that worry that you bring into the woods is not going to go away. But if you can relax it for a moment and then ask the question, is like, well, how can I resolve this? Or what person could I call that could help me? Or how should I proceed? Or what are my next steps? All of these questions, just ask the question. And I've also had a number of clients say to me, oh, yeah, well, I asked the questions, but the answers never come. I think, did you wait for the answer?
Yeah.
Did you open yourself? Did you empty out that big mug of coffee so you could get a fresh cup? So you breathe, open the awareness, connect with the 5 elements, ask that question. Ask, and just stay with it for a few minutes. Sometimes it may take weeks for an answer to come, and sometimes that answer comes in 2 minutes. It's being open to receive, and that right there is a great sentence to use as yet another tool when you are building your awareness in your mindfulness. I am open to receive with a breath.
It's also a great question or a great statement to start noticing what your self-talk is. When you say the phrase, I am open to receive, what does your a subconscious start throwing up into your mind. Well, yeah, but it never has worked before. Or yeah, but I'm open to receiving, but I'm not worthy of hearing the answer. Or yeah, but I can ask all I want and I never get what I want. Whatever it is that comes up, don't own those thoughts, don't make them yours, just write them down and go through the process again. Breathing. What I like to call is like getting off the hamster wheel of the incessant thinking, trying to think and question and criticize and all that other kind of happy stuff. Breathe, as you've said here, open your awareness, ask your question, saying the statement again, I am open to receive. And simply by acknowledging what those thoughts were, you may find that one, they're either gone, or two, they're much quieter. Now that they've been acknowledged, they don't have to yell so loud to get your attention. Does it mean that they always go away that quickly? Not necessarily, not always. Sometimes, yes. But a lot of times, those things are just waiting for an acknowledgement from you, not an ownership. It's not like a jacket that you take off the shelf and you put on and you wear it proudly. I am not worthy. No, it's an acknowledgement of, oh, yeah, there's that thought. Okay, well, thank you. I hear you. I disagree with you, and thank you for telling me how you feel. I think I went off on a tangent, Michaela.
No, you did not go off on a tangent, because it sparked an example. Earlier today, I was at a professional lunch and learn, and the topic was soft skills, communication. We were talking, and each one of us went around the room. We did a few exercises on strengths and weaknesses. And one particular woman talked about how she was a bit shy, and she would work very, very hard to create the project presentation that needed to be given to the staff. And every time she would be nervous about giving it, because if she got any kind of negative feedback, it was very difficult for her to go back and spend more time, because she had already spent so much time and been so attached to it that going back and reworking that was even more hard, and she would spend even more time on it. Well, there are two things I'd like to say about that. Number one, every master starts as a beginner. If we didn't go back and practice, and I think about somebody like Winston Marsalis, or some of the great musicians, if they gave up every time they made a mistake, we would not be able to joyously have all of these wonderful artists in our lives. We wouldn't have innovations in our lives. We would still be, we wouldn't even have
Crudes!
It is the crudes, isn't it? And the other thing is not being attached to the outcome.
Yes.
We do. We own stuff that we have no business owning, that is not going to help us out in any way, shape, or form. If the caterpillar were so attached to his body, he would never spin that cocoon.
Yep.
And we would never have a butterfly. So when you realize that it's time to let go, and this is another thing that awareness does for us. It makes us aware. It's like, oh, gee, I don't need to be holding on to that. I don't need to be talking about yesterday's gossip. I just don't need it, because it's not serving me.
Very good.
Look at this. Look what I left here, and I left this here on purpose. We talked about it earlier, but I just want to return to space and use this one. I know what we've said to work with all of them, but I think this is one of the most difficult ones for people, because in many ways, and as you mentioned earlier with the Avatar series, is that is space in that one?
Nope. Not directly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very subtle.
Mm-hmm.
And I was confused for many years because I could not see the difference between space and the air. I saw it as the same thing. Now that I've been working with it and I see how subtle it is, I also see how strong it is, because when we are able to tap into this, and I mentioned this last week, when we're tapped into it, that's when the magic happens. That's when things fall in. That's when the athlete goes into the zone. That's when the great Shaolin monks fly.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the place where you will find your creative voice. Hey, guess where we are? Back to the foundational steps. Hope you're practicing these exercises.
Mm-hmm.
If you are not sure of what the exercises are, go back and watch some of our earlier episodes. We give you an arsenal of tools to work with, because it's not about how long you sit on the cushion, but how quickly you can bring yourself to that space of awareness. How many times have we heard people say, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I don't have time to meditate, and gee, I'm going through a divorce now, I don't have time to meditate, maybe some other time. These are the times when you should be meditating 5 times as often as you normally do.
Yes. Been there, done that.
Yeah. And how do we strengthen our commitment? Again, I just want to close with saying that, when we view our meditation as medicine, as something, it's funny. A while back, I ran out of, I guess I had aspirin or ibuprofen, something like that. I didn't realize how often I used it. I mean, even when I didn't feel that I was quite tired, but I wanted to go to sleep, I would take a couple of ibuprofen to relax myself. And I realized now that there is none in the house, I go, wow, I think I was relying on that. Had no idea. So now I use the medicine, I use my practice as the medicine. And boy, it's a pretty amazing antidote
Mm-hmm.
for what's going on.
Yes. It's funny that you would bring up ibuprofen, and I am very aware of the time. That's one of the things that I haven't had in the house for years. And I didn't even realize that until my daughter came over and asked, hey, Mom, I've got a really bad headache. Do you have any ibuprofen? It's like, oh, no, I don't. I'm sorry. I can work on your neck, but huh.
I want to share something about that. It was very interesting. I found this out in high school, and ever since then I've been using it. Did you know that we have a lot of electromagnetics in our hands, and if you it's a little bit difficult for us to do it ourselves, because it's a lot more effective if you do it for somebody or somebody does it for us. Somebody has a headache, you just put one hand here and one hand in the back, and leave it there for about a minute or two. And it only takes about a minute. I think at the absolute longest it would take about 5 minutes. But there's enough electromagnetics within that connection that it rebalances and clears away the tightness. Because that's basically what a headache is there's some tight block that's not moving. Another way, if you can do it for yourself, is eat an apple. Eat something, chewing like that, because that movement, or tapping. You do it with tapping.
Mm-hmm.
I do it with other things. I did that for somebody one time, and this woman was like, there's no way you can get rid of my headache. I was like, hey, just give me a chance. And so she's, wow, you got rid of my headache. And she left, and we were at a place in the mountains in Japan, and she said, well, I think I want to go to my room for a little while. She came back out 2 hours later, and she said, I knew it, my headache would come back. but she was looking for her headache.
Right.
She was
She
looking
went in
for it.
search of.
Yeah, she went in search of it, and by golly, she found it.
Yep. Yep.
I had a student come to me just 2 weeks ago, and she said, I almost didn't come because I had a horrible migraine. Well, it took 5 minutes to get rid of her headache. And through the rest of the hour and the awareness training that we did, as she went to leave, she says, I can't believe it. I have never been able to get rid of my migraine, and you got rid of my migraine for me. And it was actually her. She's the one who let go of it. Yeah, I was just the facilitator.
Yep. Very good.
So
well, thank you, Michaela. I'm sorry.
Thank you so much. Yes, that was absolutely wonderful. Look forward to next week. And may you all have a very blessed week and do your practice.
Yes. Thank you, Michaela. Thank you to our viewers and our listeners. It, as always, has been a true pleasure.
Absolutely. Aloha and namaste. Bye, everybody.